Look around. Everyone's smiling, laughing, drinking, chasing the next high. It looks like happiness. But deep down, something feels off. You sense it, like a quiet sickness behind every smile. They told you life was about pleasure. That chasing comfort is success. But what if that was the trap? What if every time you reach for comfort, you're trading strength for a fleeting dopamine hit? This isn't just about fun, it's about control. If you don't see how pleasure is being used against you, then you're already caught in the game. From the moment you were born, you were fed a lie. Every screen you stared at, every billboard, every curated smile, it all whispered the same message. Feel good. Be happy. Avoid pain. And so, like drugged cattle, we march toward the slaughterhouse, grinning all the way. But here's what no one will say. Not your favorite influencer, not your family. Pleasure is not the goal. Not because joy is evil, but because when pleasure becomes your purpose, you become predictable. Weak. Controlled. You think you're free because you can pick your poison, Netflix or TikTok, wine or weed, but you're just chasing a stick while someone else throws it. Real power doesn't chase pleasure. It chases purpose. Julius Caesar didn't smile when he crossed the Rubicon. He didn't follow his bliss. He made a brutal decision, to risk everything or die trying. There was no pleasure there. Only fire. Only resolve. Napoleon didn't rise because he loved comfort. He rose because he knew life is war. And war rewards those who delay gratification. He once said, "A man will fight harder for his interests than for his rights." Rights? That's the language of the weak. Interests? That's the currency of the powerful. Carl Jung once said most people don't become conscious because it's too painful. They'd rather stay comfortable, blind, unaware. They'd rather be entertained than awakened. Because the truth doesn't feel good. It makes you responsible. Today, pleasure is cheap. You don't need to earn it, you just need to tap, scroll, click. You don't need to conquer, just consume. But the dopamine is real while the reward is fake. That's why your victories feel hollow. That's why your weekends blur into self-loathing. Ask yourself, who benefits from your addiction to comfort? It's not you. It's the corporations selling convenience. The politicians selling dependency. The systems that keep you sedated instead of sovereign. Because a man who needs pleasure is easy to manipulate. But a man who can see through it, that man is dangerous. Nietzsche said, "He who has a why to live can bear almost anyhow." That's not the voice of someone chasing comfort. That's the voice of someone willing to suffer for something greater. The people who truly live, the ones who feel most alive, aren't the ones chasing pleasure. They're the ones tested by fire. Who faced resistance, tension, pain, and rose. Your soul doesn't grow from comfort. It grows from pressure. From discipline. From purpose. Miyamoto Musashi, the undefeated samurai, lived by the blade and chose the way of war over warmth. Not because he hated love, but because he valued mastery. He warned against seeking pleasure for its own sake. Because once you soften, you lose your edge. And someone sharper takes your head. Look at society today, temples of comfort everywhere. Instant delivery. Trigger warnings. Pills for every mood. We've sterilized life to avoid pain, and in the process we've killed passion. You think your anxiety is just chemical? Maybe. Or maybe it's your soul screaming from years of sedation. You were born to hunt, not scroll. To build, not binge. To conquer, not comply. Even in business, this is truth. The one who works while others rest. Who reads while others watch. Who thinks while others feel. That's the one who rises. Because power rewards discipline. And in the economy of ambition, pleasure is expensive. Let's be honest, life isn't about being happy. It's about being strong. Not in the macho way, but in the way steel is strong, hardened, dependable, forged through fire. Pleasure is not the destination. It's a byproduct. If you live for it, you'll be a slave. But if you live for purpose, pleasure may visit you like a warm fire on a cold night, not to stay, but to remind you of what you've earned. Look at the masses. Are they fulfilled? Radiant? No, they're distracted, medicated, dull. They're not living. They're escaping. From what? Their own potential. They don't want to become gods. They want to feel like one, for 5 seconds on Instagram. But you might be different. If you're still here, still listening, then maybe you're done selling your power for a dopamine hit. Maybe you've heard the whisper, this isn't it. Feed that voice. Not with comfort, but with clarity. With sacrifice. With purpose. Your body was built to endure pressure. Your mind was built to solve. To rule. To lead. But not if you keep numbing it. Every great figure in history walked through fire. They didn't seek pleasure, they sacrificed it. For legacy. For truth. For something real. You have to choose, feel good for a day, or live in a way that echoes for centuries. This isn't motivation. This is a warning. Because the next war won't be fought with bullets. It'll be fought with attention. With discipline. With the ability to say no to what's easy and yes to what matters. Pleasure always sends a bill. But it never comes up front. It's disguised in soft phrases. Asterisk, you deserve it. You've earned it. Don't be so hard on yourself. Asterisk. But when the bill comes due, you're broke. Not financially. Spiritually. Strategically. And the worst part? You won't even notice, until it's too late. That's how pleasure works. Like a debt collector you forgot about. It shows up when you think you're safe. Think Caesar didn't like comfort? Napoleon didn't love praise? Of course they did. But they kept pleasure like a mistress, not a wife. Carl Jung warned, people will do anything, no matter how absurd, to avoid facing their own soul. And he was right. We avoid pain. But pain is where truth lives. You cannot be whole if you refuse to suffer. The man who never denies himself is not powerful, he's powerless. Because he has no resistance. We've glamorized indulgence. Rebranded vice as self-care. But if you need wine every night just to feel okay, it's not self-care. It's self-sabotage. Nietzsche called this the last man. A human so safe, so comfortable, so sedated that he forgets how to live. No danger. No growth. Just a slow death in high definition. Is that what you want? In business, in life, the winners aren't the smartest or most talented. They're the ones who can say no. No to comfort. No to chaos. No to emotion when clarity is needed. They know the truth, comfort is temporary. Consequences are permanent. Asterisk, asterisk. You think you're avoiding pain, but what you're really avoiding is power. And in this world, if you don't claim your power, someone else will take it. Musashi didn't decorate his home. Not because he was joyless, but because he was prepared. He knew the battle could come at any time. And when it did, he'd be ready. Ancient cultures trained their children in discomfort. Cold. Hunger. Fear. Why? Because the world doesn't care how you feel. It only responds to what you do. Carl Jung said, no tree can grow to heaven unless its roots reach down to hell. Translation? If you can't descend into pain, you'll never rise into greatness. And no, this isn't about becoming a robot. Joy matters. But there's a difference between joy and pleasure. Joy is earned. Pleasure is stolen. Joy expands. Pleasure distracts. Joy builds. Pleasure erodes. Ask yourself, when was the last time you chose what was hard, when no one was watching? Every time you pick comfort over clarity, you lose a piece of yourself. You don't notice it right away. But it adds up. The people we truly respect aren't the ones who chased pleasure, they're the ones who endured. Who resisted. Who chose mission over mood. Because power isn't loud. It's quiet. It's restraint. It's the one who doesn't flinch. The one who doesn't need the applause to do what's right. Here's the paradox. The more you chase comfort, the less you experience it. But the more you master discomfort, the more peace you gain. And true peace? It's not found in a bubble bath. It's found in fire. So what are you really avoiding? Not just work. Not just struggle. But the version of you that exists on the other side of it. Because you don't discover yourself. You forge yourself. And the hammer is hardship.